I feel like number 10 is the one that trips people up the most, would you say?
Yes.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Hitched and Happy. Today I am back with Solana. She is my guest. She is an elopement expert. She's based here in Banff National Park, but she does travel as well. And today we are going to be talking about the 10 steps that you need in order to elope in Banff National Park. Because I would say it's a pretty easy process to do it here, but there's not a lot of information about how to do it. So we're going to lay out the 10 steps for you right here. But first of all, Solana, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So my name is Solana, like Jesse mentioned. So I'm an elopement photographer here in Banff National Park. I started out with wedding photography and I was in the wedding scene and it just wasn't for me. It just didn't fulfill me and I just felt a little bit overwhelmed by it. And then I discovered eloping and I just went full on into elopements and I love it. All the epic people I get to meet and the experiences I get to go on with these couples is super epic. But yeah, that's what I do. I not only do I photograph, but I also deal with some planning, coordinating, stuff like that, just to really make their experience super great. So yeah, so today we're going to talk about kind of what I do and how I plan your elopement in Banff, basically.
So why do people choose to elope? Real quick, we can touch on that.
Yeah, so people choose to elope for the personal aspects of it. Like it's so personalized to you as a couple and it's an experience, whereas your wedding day is a little bit more of a rigid timeline day, whereas your elopement day is an experience where you get to do things that maybe you haven't really done before, or maybe you guys just love to do together, things like that. It's just really a day that's really focused around your guys' relationship together, kind of bonding, things like that, and just really experiencing an epic day as your first day as a married couple. So that's kind of what it's like to elope.
What are the vendors that you need in order to elope?
So the vendors you need to have a great elopement day is your photographer, your officiant, your hair and makeup artist, and your florist, and then as well as video if you want to have that memory to kind of share with your friends and family who aren't there. That's kind of the main vendors that you need to have a great day. Anything after that is just extra awesome addition to your day.
What is the importance of the photographer on the elopement day?
So a little bit different from kind of a wedding photographer because we are different, which is kind of crazy for most people to hear because we do kind of the similar thing. A elopement photographer is more than a photographer. Me photographing your elopement is actually pretty low on my job list. And it's also just kind of like the easiest part and it also is the funnest part. But for me as an elopement photographer, I am kind of in charge of creating your experience. Even if you are doing the planning, I'm still really creating that experience and helping guide you throughout the process just because there's not a lot of information about eloping out there on the internet. You guys watching are obviously getting all the info, but there isn't really anything out there. You can't just like Google elopement timelines, things like that to really get an idea, whereas you can do that with weddings. So your elopement photographer is going to help you through all that process of like choosing locations, maybe going out there and scouting them out beforehand because you guys don't live there, or permits, dealing with parking difficulties at locations.
There's probably, like, I know in Banff there's some locations you cannot drive to. And so if you want to go there, your elopement photographer knows about how to get there if it's like challenging to get there.
And times of day, like things like that. There's a lot that comes into play, whereas someone like you guys who are not from the location, it's going to be impossible to really know. So to have a really great day, it's really important to have a photographer who will help you with those things, help you draft your timeline, coordinate your day for you. Like my couples, they'll sometimes show up, leave their phone in the hotel room because they just know I got it handled. I'm coordinating the whole day. I got them throughout from day one, from moment one to the end of the day. I'm with them and helping them through the whole day. So yeah, you really want to keep that in mind when you're especially like looking at prices between like, oh, why don't I just hire this wedding photographer who offers an elopement package for $1,500? That's a very different experience than hiring me who handles, your timeline, your planning, your coordination, your permits, your vendors, your transportation, like all those things.
Yeah, you even have a package that brings the officiant and the florist.
Exactly.
So they don't even have to worry about booking those people separately.
You don't have to
take care of
worry
it.
about anything when it comes to elopement. So that's very different, and that's what you see kind of with cost difference, because it is the thing. It's also honestly how we shoot is a lot different as an elopement photographer towards a wedding photographer. So like wedding photographers, they're on a time crunch. They got an hour to do photos with you. They're gonna spit out poses like left and right. That's just what you have to deal with. Whereas an elopement day, we're a little bit more laid back. We do a little bit more candid. We let you enjoy your day. We're not constantly in your face, because we know this is your wedding day and not a photo shoot. Whereas when you have to do a wedding day, you have 1 hour photo shoot on your wedding day, and it's a photo shoot.
It's a lot to fit in.
It is. So
and who knows, like for me, whenever I'm doing that at a wedding, I actually love the challenge, because it's like, okay, what if the lighting sucks at this time that I've been giving to do the photos? Like, how am I going to handle that? Where am I going to put the lighting? How am I going to handle all the families that want pictures? So there's a lot. Whereas when I shot with you recently, I mean, we were shooting in a wedding. Yeah. But you were so chill. Yeah. And I was like, you might be the chillest wedding photographer I've ever met, but that's because you do elopements, and you explaining this makes sense.
Yeah, so it is very different. We approach it differently. We also approach composition a little differently, because your wedding venue is not always the cutest if you're getting, married at a venue. So we want to blur the background out, for a traditional wedding photographer. Whereas as an elopement photographer, I'm more of a landscape photographer, and I just have a subject in my images, because couples, they want to have that surrounding in their images, and they really want to showcase it, so they can really show families and friends, like, this is where we got married. And it really is 50-50 about making the couple look great, but also making the surroundings look epic and really capturing that location. So it is a little different mindset as well. Like, whereas when I did weddings, my mindset was on the couple, like, how can I make the couple look great? And now it's like, well, how can I make these mountains look even more epic than it can be? So it is very different. So when you are comparing packages, don't just compare the price, because there is a whole different experience attached with someone who only does elopements versus someone who also just does elopements.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are going to be the 10 steps that you need in order to elope in Banff National Park. So what is step number 1?
So step number 1 is finding your photographer. This is going to make or break your day, kind of like I explained, and they're also going to help you with a lot of the parts. And you can also find out what they're going to help you with as well. So if you find a photographer, and so like myself, I include, your officiant, your hair and makeup artist, your florist. So everything that you need to have a great day, as well as like how to get your permits, things like that, is all included. So I help you with the whole experience. But another photographer might not do that. They might just send you recommendations. But these are all helpful resources and a good starting point to see what you have to do next. So the photographer is first because of that, and it's also the most important vendor of your day. It's going to really make or break the experience, because they're really guiding the experience for you. And if you want to be, maybe you're a big planner, maybe you hate planning, whatever it is, chances are if you're watching this, you kind of like planning because you're watching this. So you want to have an idea. For you, maybe you want to be a part of the whole planning experience. For me, I do have my couples are able to be as involved or as uninvolved if they want to be. But if you just want, recommendations, maybe that's a better option for you. So it's a very good starting point to see, okay, so we have the photographer, this is what we want, and now what else do I need to do? So it's a great start.
Okay, what is step 2?
So step 2 would be choosing your date. I like to do this after you found your photographer, because typically people who are eloping are pretty flexible on a date, and your photographer can help suggest the best date based on where you're eloping. So for me, I always say elope during the week. Don't elope on the weekend. Most people can avoid not eloping on the weekend, so don't do it. It's just busier. Everyone's in the parks. Wherever you're eloping, it's going to be busy. It's the weekend. So you always want to think about eloping during a weekday, Tuesday to Thursday, best days. And then you also want to keep in mind time of year. If you want to do specific activities that are only you can do in the winter or only can do in the summer, things like that is very important to know. As well as, the temperatures that you want. If you want to risk rain or you want to risk snow or just whatever it is, your photographer can kind of help guide you the best day to elope. That's why you want to do it second after getting your photographer.
After you have your photographer picked. And then step number 3.
So this is when, you have some things nailed down, you know where you're eloping now because you have your photographer. You want to book your accommodation. So some accommodation, depending on where it is, it'll book up fast. So that's why I put it at number 3. You could also put it after number 4, but yeah, somewhere between 3 and 4.
Just keep in mind that things book up fast.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're getting married in like a popular location.
Yeah, it really depends on when you're reaching out. Like if you're reaching out to plan your elopement and you just booked your photographer and you want to elope in 2 months, then booking your accommodation is going to be the next step just because it's going to fill up. But if you're reaching out a year in advance, you can keep this off a little bit longer. But yeah, you want to book accommodation, ask your photographer best kind of recommendations of where to stay. Here in Banff, I always say, Canmore, Banff, Lake Louise, that's kind of the best places most people stay. There are exceptions to that depending on kind of budgets, type of, like if you want to do Airbnbs, things like that, I sometimes send people to Golden to stay out there. But typically Canmore, Banff, Lake Louise, you can't go wrong with that. And that's typically where most couples will stay as they're here in Banff.
Amazing. Okay, so step 4.
So step 4 is when timelines come in. So you could book accommodations after you figure out your timelines, so you know exactly what locations you're going to be
where
at.
you're going to be. Yeah.
So it really just comes down to how much time you have between your actual elopement day. So when it comes to your timeline, you want to get this down pretty soon so you can kind of book your other vendors because they'll need to know what time everything's happening.
Yeah.
So hopefully your photographer is going to help you with this. It is important. So honestly would recommend a photographer who does help you with the timeline.
Especially since they have done this so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
They, like for me, I've been to over 100 weddings and I can plan out a wedding timeline in like 10 minutes. Just give me. I have couples come to me all the time. They're so stressed. I'm sure you get the same thing. Yeah. They're stressed. They don't know where to start. And then I'm like, let's just hop on a call. I'll talk you through the whole day and I'll be like, this is what usually happens and this is how much time things take. So it is nice to have a photographer that will help you with that because it relieves a lot of stress.
Yeah, for sure. And like I mentioned too, like you probably don't know anything about eloping. So how are you going to make a timeline if you don't know anything about it? But yeah, this is also when we'll kind of figure out what locations we'll stop at. So if you're like, we're really big into waterfalls or we really want, that very blue lake, things like that, I know which lakes to suggest or locations to suggest. And I also know like which ones are close by so we can kind of keep things with minimal driving, but still kind of hitting all the spots that you want to see. So when it comes to timeline scheduling, I do things like, like figure out what locations, like I mentioned, but also like scheduling, driving time, as well as like how long to stay at a location. I typically tell couples, depending on the location, it'll be between 1 to 2 hours. If you guys are doing an activity at a location, it's 2 hours always. But yeah, certain locations will require a certain amount of time. So there's specific locations where I'm like no less than an hour and a half. Some I'm like 3 hours even. It just depends on the location. And I know that. So that's why it's really important to have a photographer because most people will be like an hour is so much time, but they don't realize that it takes 15 minutes to get to the spot after you park your car or things like that. Or like, you want to have time to really soak it in. Like you're not just taking photos that whole hour. Like people are usually like, well, I don't want to take an hour of photos at every location. I'm like, well, that's not what's happening. Yeah. It's
you are building in time for them to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. It's more, you want to think of your elopement day as like you're going to these locations. You're, exploring it as you would if you're traveling. So if you're traveling somewhere, typically, you'll spend an hour at a location, just kind of like walking around, just experiencing it. Maybe you do something like read letters to each other, like things like that can be incorporated into it. There's a lot of like little activities that I love to include at different locations, just so couples can experience the location while feeling like they're doing something. So whether it's like a picnic or like reading letters, like I mentioned, from families and friends, things like that, just to give you something to do with that time so you don't ever feel awkward, because that's my biggest goal is make sure you never feel awkward. You're always having a good time and you're just really experiencing the location. So these are all just like little things that as an expert I can help explain to you and just really show you in a timeline that like, hey, this is actually what your day can look like. And this is like a full day, but it's a full day of like just hanging out with your partner, experiencing what Banff has to offer and just really getting a whole day out of it.
Okay, so you have the timeline, you have date, location, and your photographer. What is step 5?
So step 5 would be finding your officiant, because you can't get married without your officiant. So again, that's something I would include for you. However, if you are looking for an officiant yourself, you can go on the Alberta government website and you can find an officiant there. You can also post in like local Facebook groups. I believe you have a Facebook group.
I do have a Facebook group, yes. I think it's
Yeah.
called Calgary Wedding Vendors and Couples. So
Yeah.
you can go there and look for officiants and post and be like, this is our date and we're looking for an officiant.
Calgary's right close to Banff, and sometimes I use vendors from Calgary. So it's totally fine to have someone come out from Calgary. It's not very far. So yeah, do that. That's a good option. Or else just the government website. So it's kind of a good option there. Your officiant will help you with things like getting your marriage license. It is super simple, so I do want to explain it here quickly just because most couples, this freaks them out.
Right.
It's such an easy process. So if you guys are not from Alberta or you are from Alberta, same things apply. You just need to go into any registry, walk in. You don't need an appointment with 2 pieces of ID. Just go in and get your marriage license.
And they can do this, so if they're not from Alberta, they can do this once they've landed here, like the day before their wedding.
Yeah, you can't do it over online back home. You have to do it once you arrive in Alberta. And I've had a couple from Australia do it the day before their elopement day. So it's 100% true.
Yeah,
There's evidence.
You can do it before. And I've heard the registry in Banff is really good.
Yeah, the registry in Banff, just keep in mind, it's not open on Mondays.
Right.
So just don't plan to do it on Monday. If you want to go to Canmore, there's also one, but Canmore does require appointments. So you just have to make an appointment with the Canmore one.
Right. But anywhere in Calgary, there's lots of registries in Calgary where you could walk in. So if you're flying into Calgary, you could go that day. And what part does the officiant play in helping the couple with that? Do they have to order the license, or how does that work?
So the license is just that's the whole process. You just go into the registry, they give you the license right there. Once you have the license, you do your elopement ceremony, you elope. The officiant will sign your marriage license. Your witnesses will sign your marriage license, as well as you both. From there, the officiant do their magic. I don't know exactly what the officiant does after that.
They have to take it to a registry
they
or mail
send it into somewhere. That's all I know. But they do that for you. Yeah. And then from there, you pick up something from the registry that you take back to your country. But he explains that. I don't explain it.
Your officiant will know about this.
Your officiant will know about this. But yeah, no. And then your officiant will typically reach out to you a few weeks before your elopement ceremony and just kind of discuss the ceremony with you.
Right.
Just so you kind of know what you're going to be repeating, or just kind of what the ceremony is going to look like. Some of them will personalize their ceremony and kind of include your story into the ceremony, or they'll have kind of like a typical one. Just kind of for reference, elopement ceremonies take about 5 minutes. They're very, very fast. But yeah, it's pretty simple, and the officiant handles all that kind of stuff.
Do people often write vows and include that in their elopement ceremony, or do they do that at a different part of the day? I mean, I know there's no rules.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. There's no rules, so you can do whatever you want. So I get a mix of both. Like, I have some couples that want to do like private vows, so they'll do that kind of in private, and I kind of shoot from afar. Or there's couples that want to do their vows during the ceremony, or there's couples who don't want to do private vows at all, and they just do the stereotypical ones. So it's really up to what you want to do.
Amazing. So finding an officiant is step 5. And I guess when you're looking for officiant, if you care about having more of a personalized ceremony, those are questions that you could ask them as well. Okay, step number 6.
So step number 6 would be find your hair and makeup artist. I don't have too much to touch on here, except if you are eloping in the States. I know the States does this. So if you want your hair and makeup artist to come with you on your elopement day, there's a few people in the States that offer this service, and they'll actually come with you and touch up your makeup and your hair when you're on top of the mountains.
Yeah, because it does get messed up there.
It does, yeah. So if you're hiking or you're taking a helicopter, there's wind blowing around, there's sweat coming down your head, like things get a little bit messy, so they can touch it up with you kind of on the spot. Unfortunately, here in Canada, I don't get to offer that service. Still hoping I can partner with someone eventually, but
yeah, maybe there's a market here.
There is
for a hair and makeup artist.
Opportunity. Yeah, no. So that's something to keep in mind there. But otherwise, yeah, you just want to find a hair and makeup artist that, you know, fits your style, can kind of do what you want. Most of them can. I've never had an issue with hair and makeup artists. I've worked with a ton of them, and I include them in my packages. So I just, you know, get your inspo pictures and then just kind of make sure they can do what you're looking for. They're usually pretty talented, so nothing to really worry about. One thing to keep in mind though is like if you want to get ready at your hotel or Airbnb versus a salon, that's something to keep in mind. So some places they only do in salons. Some locations like Jasper, for instance, there's no one that comes on site for hair and makeup, so you have to go to salon.
You have to go to their location,
the Jasper area. So things like that would be something to keep in mind too when it comes to your hair and makeup artist. But other than that,
because that will affect your timeline a little bit. So you'll want to talk to your photographer about those options. Okay, step number 7.
So step number 7 would be finding your florist. Typically for florists, for an elopement, all you need is a bouquet and a boutonniere. If you're doing an arch, then you might want some arch decorations. Typically, my couples don't do arches. It's just no reason for it. You know, you have a mountain as your arch, so it's fine.
It also, like at some of the locations, it can be tricky to set up an arch because you're walking from the car and you can't drive right up. So
yeah, it just adds a lot of things for no reason. Like, it's really not worth it. Like, I don't suggest it typically to my couples just because it's like there's really no reason for it. It just blocks your view of the mountains. That's all it does. So typically you'll just need a florist who can do a bouquet for you and a boutonniere. In Banff, I use Mountaintop Flowers. They're the best, so I would recommend them. They have like a bouquet boutonniere package for elopements specifically, and then you just order it, send them your inspo, and they do an awesome job every time. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend them. There's a few other companies in Banff that also do it, but that's just the company that I work with.
Do they pick this up on the day then beforehand, or does someone come and bring it to where they're getting ready?
Yeah, so you have the options to either. They do deliveries for Canmore, Banff, and Lake Louise. Nice. So you can get it delivered. For me, I pick it up for my couples, or I sometimes deliver it depending on where they're staying. But yeah, you can pick it up, you can get it delivered, whatever you kind of prefer. You'll want to book this at least like 2 weeks out. You don't need to book it much earlier. They can do last minutes too. They just might not have your flowers that you have in stock if you have a specific style, but yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so step number 8, now getting down to it.
Yeah. So step number 8 would be activities. So this would be kind of like choosing if you want to have activities in your day, and if you do, like just booking any that you need to have booked. So some common activities here in Banff would be like riding the gondola, going up a ski lift, helicopter, and then like canoeing, skiing, snowboarding in the winter. Things like that. Skating.
Skating.
Like typical. There's so many. I have a whole list, but there's so many things you can do. But these are kind of like some stereotypical ones here in Banff that I do typically. So some of these will need to be booked ahead of time. Like your helicopter is a big one. I include the booking in my helicopter package, but if you're going a separate route, then you'll want to book the helicopter company. That's a whole different episode, so maybe we'll talk about
where
that
we can have you back.
So yeah, things like that is what you'd want to book next, because you'll have your timeline somewhat down, and then you're just kind of securing those extra things. They just don't book up too fast. So like if you wanted to book a gondola ride to the top of Sulphur Mountain, you know, you can do that pretty decently last minute, like 2 weeks out. So
it depends on the activity.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and how big it is. Like a helicopter would probably be the most like grandiose activity that needs to be booked out a little bit more in advance. But yeah, like those are awesome things too. Like you'll know what kind of activities you're interested in a little bit early on, like when you're drafting your timeline. So your photographer can let you know if like you should book those sooner rather than later.
Okay, step 9.
So step 9 would be to submit your registration form to Banff. So here in Banff National Park, as well as all the national parks in Canada, there's no charge for getting married in the parks, whereas I think in the States you have to pay for permits to get married there. For here, it's just a form that you fill out and you send it to the parks. It's basically just a heads up to let them know, there's a ceremony happening here. And it's just so you can sign a paper that says you're going to agree to all the rules, things like that. So it's super easy. They only need I think it's a week in advance notice. So yeah, as long as you do it.
And you can just do it online. There's a link.
Yeah, there's a link. It's a PDF form you download, and then you just sign it and email it to the email that's on the form. Super easy. Yeah, they'll never deny your request. I don't think it's never happened. So,
and I'm sure this doesn't happen a lot for elopements, but I think if you are booking a private venue, then you don't need to fill this out.
Yeah, I believe so. This is more just for unregistered sites, just to kind of let them know.
If you're going to go get married on the shores of Lake Louise, you need to fill this out. Exactly. But if you're booking a balcony at the chateau, you wouldn't need to fill it out.
Yeah, exactly, because that's someone's property. So yeah, it's fine there. Yeah.
Okay, was that number 9? Now we're on number 10.
We did already discuss number 10, but this is here too.
I feel like number 10 is the one that trips people up the most, would you say?
Yes. So this is your marriage license. So it's number 10 because chances are you're not here too much before your elopement day. Most people travel here to elope. So you arrive in Calgary, you get your marriage license. You head in with 2 pieces of ID to any registry within Alberta. No appointment necessary. Get your marriage license. It's a fee. I think it's between 80 and 100, something like that, Canadian dollars. And you get your marriage license. One thing I do want to say, if you've ever had a previous marriage, you got divorced, either of you, one thing you'll also need is your marriage certificate. You'll want to look into exactly what they want on the marriage certificate because there is some wording that has to be there. Your officiant should know this as well. But this one thing to keep in mind as well, if you've ever had that would be the third thing that you would need to bring in to get your marriage license.
So you need your marriage certificate from your previous marriage.
You need your divorce certificate.
Or divorce certificate.
Yeah, so they know you're divorced, and then you can get your marriage license.
And then this marriage is recognized in other countries too.
So I've worked with Australians, people from Singapore, Europe, Canada, US. So, and it's never been an issue. Those are all recognized.
And other provinces as well.
Exactly, the provinces too.
So if you're coming from Ontario, you can get married out here in Alberta by following these same steps, and it will be recognized in Ontario.
Exactly. Yeah, you submit your thing to your government back home, and then they just
and the officiant will know all this.
That's the stuff. That's when I'm Peace out. And
I'll get an officiant on the pod, and then we'll do an episode on marriage license because even it's so funny. We see people sign them all the time, but we're I don't know. The officiant takes it.
Yeah, he takes it and takes care of it. He'll let you know too on the day what you need to do next. It'll depend on if you're coming from a different country or whatever. But they do know that. So that's why I've never taken the time to learn it because I'm you guys got it. So that's kind of all you need to elope. It's actually pretty simple when you really think about it. It can feel a little bit overwhelming, but like I said, if you have some good vendors, you have a good photographer to kind of help you through the whole process, they can really hold your hand and just give you a full experience that's great from the inquiry to the end of the day. You can be as involved or as uninvolved as you want to be. It's really up to you and kind of what is more important. If it's more important to you to invest in someone who really is an expert and can really, take the reins for you so you don't have to worry, then do that. If you're more no, that's not an investment for me, don't do it. It's totally up to you. Again, elopements are so personalized, and it's really up to how you guys want to do it and what you want your experience to be.
Yeah, amazing.
Cool.
Okay, so those are the 10 steps in order to elope here in Alberta in Banff National Park. Whether you live here or you're coming from another province or another country, you can follow these steps and you will be able to have a legal marriage here, an amazing elopement day as well. Yeah. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
And where can people find you? I'll put it in the notes too.
It'll be in the show notes, but you can find me at Solana Crowe Creations on Instagram or my website just by Googling that. That's pretty much where I am. So I'm not a Facebook gal, so just come find me there.
Okay, amazing.
Awesome.
Thank
so
you.
much.